When we walk on Pishiobury Park, we just see a whole lot of grass, don't we? Well, that's true, but in fact what we see here is 70 acres or 30 hectares of what is called unimproved grassland. This means that the park has never been fertilised and never been sprayed. Hertfordshire, in fact, has lost over 95% of this grassland, and at Pishiobury we have 5% of the remainder. The grasses on the park tend to fall into two distinct types. First of all, there are the finer grasses, and these are found growing mostly on the drier parts of the park, where the subsoil is more sandy and gravelly. The second type of grass are the coarser, big tufted grasses, and they are found growing on the wetter parts, which are usually the chalky boulder clay areas. If we cut the stem of the leaf in cross-section, we see that it is made up of concentric layers, very much like a telescope. And grasses all have very fibrous roots, which are very good at extracting moisture from the soil. In order to see what the leaves look like in detail, we can paint one of the grass leaves with nail varnish, let it dry and then peel it off. We see that the leaf is made up of cells that are joined end to end. Some leaves are hairy, and if we look at them magnified about 100 times, we can see the hairs. These hairs help to create a microclimate around the leaf and prevent it from losing too much water. If we take a closer look at the grass flowers, we see that the anthers, that is the male part of the flower, dangle in the wind in order to shed their pollen. The female part, or the stigma, is brush-like to actually catch that pollen from the wind. Well, I hope that introduction has shown you there's just a little bit more to grass than maybe meets the eye. We've had a look at the different forms that the grasses take. We've had a closer look at the leaves of the grass and the surface of the grass and also the flowers of the grass. But how do we identify those grasses? Right. Well, once again, we go back, as we had done so many times before, to the Field Study Council guides, and this one is on commoner grasses, and it should cover most, but in fact not all the ones that are found in Pishiobury Park. And there are 2 pages here that we've got of the commoner grasses, and I've tried to identify them, and I've really found them quite difficult. And hopefully in the next little bit of film you will see some of the names of the many different types of grass that we've got on Pishiobury Park.
A big day for Elizabeth.
And finally, because grass flowers are only relatively short-lived, nobody will really mind if you pick a bunch of different ones, and a pleasing thing to do is to mount them on a black background in a frame to make a nice display. So maybe next time you visit the park, particularly in midsummer, you will look at it in something of a different way and recognise the large variety of different types of grasses that we find on Pishiobury Park.